Hey everyone, it's Dr. Haggerty. Hey, I wanted to do this quick video before I left for the day because I've obviously had a lot less time on social media the last week, and I wanted to tell you a little bit why. So this week has been an amazingly busy week for us here in the practice, getting to help lots of kids. And I wanted to address a topic that has just become an incredibly pervasive topic. Oppositional defiance disorder. And for those of you who don't know what this is, it's an incredibly common condition that we're seeing happen in just tons of kids. And it's one of the things that we see extremely commonly here in the practice. And I want to just take a moment to explain what really is going on in the mind of a child that has been diagnosed with ODD. So, I want you to kind of step back and think about the way that the nervous system works, right? So the nervous system controls the body from top to bottom, right? The job of the brain is to be able to go and create a response to everything that we go through on a daily basis. And one of the things that happens with kids with ODD is that their brain is living in a state of fight or flight. So let's put some perspective to this, okay? So if you have a dog that's out in the wild, right, and you back this dog into a corner, what's a dog going to do? A dog is going to fight, right? Because when a dog is in that position, their natural response is attack. Well, if you look at a child that has oppositional defiance disorder, what has happened is that at some point in their neurological development, oftentimes it was an event that happened whether in utero, something that happened post-utero, where the nervous system was kicked on to maximum fight or flight mode. So what does that mean? If a child's nervous system is locked in hardcore to fight or flight, what are the two components of that? Fight, flight, right? So if a child is stuck in this fight mode, then the brain actually changes the way that it works, right? Because up here, right, your cortex is supposed to make logical decisions about a situation. If it can't make a logical decision about the situation, it can't assess it properly, it can't make proper reaction, then it's going to default down to lower modes of decision, right? So if a child's nervous system is cranked onto fight or flight really hard, so what's going to happen is an area of the brain called the midbrain will actually inhibit the ability of the higher centers to go and make decisions about what's going on. And so how this gets started is that something, when it turns on that fight or flight system, if it can't turn down the fight or flight system, then the higher centers can't override it and tell your brain make logical decisions, right? So here, obviously, I'm a pediatric chiropractor, right? And so we work with this stuff. But regardless of the fact of my specialty, one of the things that changes the way that a child's brain interacts is an area of the nervous system called the vagus nerve. So this vagus nerve is the key into what is called the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's the opponent to the fight or flight nervous system. So when a child is living stuck in fight or flight, the key to calming down the fight or flight is activating the vagus nerve, right? So medically, they try and use medicines to try and calm the brain down. But in neuroscience, they use things like vagal nerve stimulators. In chiropractic, we use adjustments. Because for those of you who aren't chiropractic patients, I want you to know this. The result of a chiropractic adjustment, right? If you're a patient, you've been adjusted, you feel more relaxed afterwards. The result of an adjustment is a stimulation of the parasympathetic nervous system. In kids, right, when I adjust a child who's got ODD, the whole result, why a child starts to over time calm down, is that we're tapping the brake pedal on the nervous system, allowing the brain to start to calm. Because the vagus nerve is stimulated every single time that we do this. And it begins a process of reorganization where the child's nervous system goes from being stuck in fight or flight, where every time an adjustment's performed, it changes the balance. All of a sudden, being stuck in fight or flight is now brake pedal is stimulated, a child's nervous system starts to slow down a little bit, and then it'll ramp back up a little bit because the fight or flight system has a really strong pattern in the brain. But then you adjust again. The fight or flight system calms down a little bit because the vagus nerve is stimulated again. And over time, what happens is the patterns change. A child's nervous system begins to reintegrate because now the brain is starting to see the world from the perspective of not always being stuck in fight or flight, but it begins to see the world by getting the higher centers of the brain stimulated every time the vagus nerve is activated, okay? So then the brain starts to reorganize, reassess situations, and instead of being stuck hardcore in fight or flight all the time, now a child's brain begins to see the world, and the higher centers start to kick in and start to override the midbrain response, which is fight or flight. And you start seeing progressive changes where all of a sudden they become hyper-emotional for some time. But then what starts to happen, which is the really, really cool part, is you start seeing these ODD kids beginning to make more normal, more rational decisions about situations, become less hyper aggressive because you know what's happening. They're not feeling like they're a dog that's put into a corner that has only one option, which is, guess what? Fight. So, and over time, this progressively kicks in and becomes a stronger and stronger response. So as that child's nervous system gets calmer and calmer and calmer through consistent stimulation of the vagus with an adjustment, all of a sudden, the brain changes, they progressively calm, and guess what? A child that has had ODD sometimes since they were born becomes a more well-integrated, calmer, normal child because the nervous system literally changes from the inside out as the brain reorganizes. I hope this was helpful. If you guys have any questions, if you have a child that's dealing with this, don't hesitate to message me. More than happy to help on this one in any way that I can. If this was valuable to you, make sure that you share it because we want to get this information out because this stuff here can help so many people by educating people about how this starts and what can be done about it, okay? Take care, guys. God bless. Be elite.